Hi there Virgo, thank you for joining me for your year 2014 horoscope forecast. This year begins with a potent solar return on the first day of January. This sees the Sun and Pluto side by side in your 5th house, the sector of expression. This gives you a powerful signal to make the most of your talents all through this new year. But two planets are squaring up to the Sun and Pluto, and that is Mars and also Uranus, which in turn are opposite, so a T-square is forged. The suggestion here is that something you really want may seem slightly beyond your reach, especially in terms of the material benefits, or perhaps if you're doing better materially, the thing you really want may require you to make a sacrifice, to let go of a certain amount of security. But you could find yourself making some snap decisions as you enter this new year. It can be a thrilling time, and certainly from a romantic viewpoint, there can be also a very powerful attraction with somebody. Right throughout this year, it could come along very, very quickly. Whether it will stand the test of time is another matter, but it could be very potent. Now, before the end of January, we have another T-square, but this T-square is focused on the planet of Jupiter. Jupiter in opposition with Pluto, and Pluto and Uranus still in that square, and then Uranus squares with Pluto itself. Now, when Jupiter and Pluto square, it can actually cause quite a lot of good fortune, but it can also see us get carried away and believe that everything will fall into place without too much effort on our part. That's Jupiter's characteristic in general. With Uranus there, it can make us that bit more daring and sometimes even reckless. And the one thing you mustn't do is bet your life savings or resources on a risky scheme just because you do want to break out of some emotional straitjacket that you feel that you've been in, or the way your life has been so far. So it's all very well being positive and going for it, but make sure it's within safe boundaries for you. Now that's going to be going on through till May, but right from the start of this year you do have an ace in the pack, because Mars, the power planet, is going to be in your sector of resources right through till late July. This is a very unusual extended transit. Usually Mars takes 6 weeks to move through each sign. At the end of July it will go back to that pattern. But for the first 7 months of this year, it's going to give you awesome determination to improve your lot. And that could also be an enjoyment of life's creature comforts. And if you feel there's been a lack of intimacy in your life, this can also give you a desire to become closer to someone special. So that's also going to be a big feature in the early part of this year. Now, from last year, we still have Jupiter in place in a wonderful part of your horoscope, the idealistic 11th house, and this can see lots of connections with people in terms of friendships in the first half of this year, but also Saturn continues in your sector of everyday communication. Now, Saturn is not a planet to take lightly, and there may have been times over the last year and a half at the start of 2014 when you felt that people were criticising your thought processes, the way you express yourself. But really Saturn's been asking you to just be more disciplined about the things you do believe in, and when you do articulate your ideas, you do so from a point of strength. So it may have been a time when you've been learning new skills and becoming more self-confident, but there may have been some knockbacks along the way. Now that could be the case again at points this year. Saturn will go backwards for 5.5 months. And there could be tensions with a sibling or people you live immediately near, such as in your neighbourhood. Don't take such relationships lightly, you need to work at them. And then in the last 2 weeks of August, both Saturn and Mars go side by side. And if something doesn't quite go to plan, you could find yourself becoming overwhelmingly frustrated during this time, but try to keep the faith. Because further back in the year, in April, there are 2 eclipses which are hugely important. The first one is a lunar eclipse, and it's asking you to try to understand your desires more clearly. When I'm talking about desires, I'm talking about the things that we spend money on frivolously. But also there's a solar eclipse later that month which really gives you encouragement to open up the clutch and be much more expansive in your activities. And for the following 6 months, this could see you travel, and it can be a very exciting time. In the second half of this year, we have another pair of eclipses. This time, you're being asked to think more about your long-term financial situation, and then at the end of October, it's again asking you to think very carefully about how you express yourself, your personal ideas. If some of these ideas are outdated, they were things that you were taught when you were much younger, we've had a particular way of dealing with things in communications, and there has been a tendency to be very sharp or defensive, then you're really being pushed in this latter part of the year to get much better at dealing with people. Not everybody agrees with us, it's part of life. It's not necessarily the case that we always have to take it personally. But the other big influence that really populates this year is that square between Pluto and Uranus. It's going to run on for about 9 months of this year. It is what has had such a big impact on the world at large. And for you, it's really asking you to balance your need to be that expressive person, but at the same time, as I said before, not feeling so rebellious if you're not getting the instant rewards that you walk away from situations that do give you a certain amount of security. It's been a real pleasure being with you. Thank you for joining me. Good luck and goodbye for now.